Welcome to the Thrive podcast with the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church.
How does your faith kind of play into it, or does it play into it?
What can be done about it? When I say the church, I'm talking about evangelical white Christians and the black folk who attend their churches.
Hello, welcome to the Thrive podcast with the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. I'm Fred Jeff Smith, pastor of Shiloh, and I'm very happy that you chose to either view us on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook, or listen to us on Spotify, Amazon Prime, or iTunes. As always, we invite your commentary, your comments about how we can make the Thrive podcast better. You can reach out to me at fredjeffsmith@gmail.com, fredjeffsmith@gmail.com. I am very happy today to welcome for the first time Mrs. Tasha Clark Amar, who is the head of the Council on Aging for East Baton Rouge Parish, to the Thrive podcast. Mrs. Amar, thank you for taking the time to come and share with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here because I watched the podcast and it's finally my turn.
Yes, ma'am. We are delighted that you took the time to come and share with us. How did you get into this particular phase of work and service to the aging and elderly of our community?
It was by happenstance. It was a happy accident, actually. I was working. I had worked for the governor's office for Governor Blanco. I also worked for Governor Mike Foster in the urban development area. And at that time, I was a compliance officer, and I oversaw nonprofits putting on activities and programs. And a lot of my programs were aging programs. And then from there, when Kip Holden called me and asked me would I come and run a community center for him. And so I was the director of the Dr. Martin Luther King Community Center for 5 to 6 years, and they had a senior center. And I found myself all the time, every day, not at my desk, but in the senior center. And I got very close with the seniors there, and I started to learn about the plight of aging and how you age when you don't have the things that you need, and the struggle and the sacrifices they were making between like choosing their medicine or paying their rent or keeping their lights on. And they had some serious struggles, weatherization of their property and dilapidated property and property that wasn't in their name. And so from there, I started working on programs through the mayor's office where we would do things, weatherization programs, volunteer programs to help the seniors pay their light bills. We took them on trips. So many seniors never been outside of Baton Rouge, right? Yeah. So we took them on trips, and we just started doing all kind of things with them. And I have to say, and I worked closely with the Metro Council woman at that time, which was Denise Marcel. And then from there, I saw an opening one day just on the website. I said, wow, that'll be a bunch of seniors. Let me see if I can apply for that. I did. There were 44 candidates, and out of the 44, they chose me. And so I just fell into working with seniors. So I truly believe it was my purpose in life, because I get so much pleasure and joy and excitement out of just serving them.
And how many years have you been doing this now?
I have been the director of the Council on Aging. This is my 13th year. I'm going on my 14th year.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And you have made a tremendous impact in the lives of these people, despite the political pushback that you have had to endure. And you know, that's really what I wanted to jump into.
Sure. The
political pushback. That why do you think it is that there are political powers within this parish that have a problem with focusing on elderly care and providing services for elderly people in such a way that they push back against the Council on Aging?
I think what happened was, as long as we were working with absolutely nothing, when I got there, Pastor, we were in a $650,000 deficit. It took me 4 years to crawl the agency out of that. When I got there, my first week, I didn't have payroll money. I went and took a personal loan out at the bank to make payroll. But I believe what happened was we started doing more than they expected. And we decided, with the encouragement of the governor's office and some of my counterparts, they taught me about millages and how to run for one, because all the entities and parishes around me, they had a millage, including West Baton Rouge, Ascension, and Livingston, and Terrebonne Parish, and it was about 20 parishes with millages, and so they encouraged me. They, meaning the former director, her name was Karen Wright, I'll never forget. She said, "You're going to need more money because you got too many people to serve." And so we quietly went about the business of campaigning for a millage, and we made some errors, right? Because we were out of our element and we didn't know what we were doing. We were doing the best we can. And so we won this parish-wide millage with $21,000, right, for the parish. And a lot of the money came from ourselves. And then seniors, $5 here, $6 here. And so once they realized that we actually won the millage, and we ended up with this pot of money that we have control of, our board has control of it,
Right.
and then you have this voting block. Seniors are the most, they vote, they chronic voters. They do not miss a vote.
Yes.
And I think in somebody's mind, they determined that I was controlling the seniors or the seniors vote. But in essence, if you ever work with seniors, you know that you can't tell them nothing.
No, no,
They
that's
tell
true.
you.
That's
They control you. They tell you what they want to do and how they want it done. And so I think a lot of that has to do with control of the money and control of the senior voting block. And why they have a problem with that, I don't know, because as far as I'm concerned, that's not what I'm here for.
Is this a Metro Council problem?
I think it's a Metro Council problem,
Okay.
and then some outliers in the community just don't want to see progress, right? And what they have determined is this is a poor people program, and it is not. We serve people in the country club and in Bocage and in Shenandoah. You know, people. We all need the same things. When you age, it's the same thing. You need a decent meal. You need, once you can't drive anymore, you need transportation to and fro. You want to get out your house and not be isolated. You need, fellowship with like people. And so no matter your color, no matter your social economic background, you need the same things. And so I think that some folks just are not comfortable with when you look like us and you look like me, you control this amount of money. And for some reason, there's an old adage that all of us steal, and we don't.
Yeah. The stereotype is that Council on Aging serves elderly black people.
Right.
But as you just said, Council on Aging serves elderly people.
That's
regardless
exactly right.
of race or any other
Exactly
factor.
right.
And I'm not quite sure I understand why people have a hard time accepting that reality. In particular, you can't say it, so I'll say it.
Yes.
People like Dwight Hudson.
Right.
Dwight Hudson has been after the Council on Aging for years now.
Yes.
Trying to get his hands on money. They wouldn't give you the money through the council. You went and got your own money.
That's exactly
And now
right.
they want to tell you how to spend the money that you went and campaigned and got on your own.
And they want to keep me at a certain amount of money. And I think that I don't know what their issues are, right? And I can say this. When you see activities, we have citywide activities, and I will say most of the participants that are out in the public are black. But what you don't know is how many seniors that are white that we serve in the homes that won't come out, or they don't want their picture taken, or they don't want to be in the advertisement. And we make sure that we protect them, right? And so we serve quite a few other minorities and white people. We serve quite a few. And so I don't know why they want to control the Council on Aging, because back in the day, it wasn't that big of a deal. But now it's everything.
Well, back in the day, you didn't have no money.
That too.
It's primarily about dollars, as I
At the end of the day.
assess things,
Yes,
as I
sir.
look at things. It seems to be more about dollars than anything else. Right through here, conservatives are attacking dedicated
Yes, they are.
taxes for all kinds of entities, not just Council on Aging,
Right.
but it's also BREC.
Yes.
It's also CATS.
The library.
It's also the library.
Yes, sir.
It's also mosquito abatement. And God knows I don't want no mosquitoes or flies in my house.
That's
so
right.
leave the mosquito folk alone and let them
Right.
do what they have to do. But a lot of this, in a larger sense, has to do with a desire to fund St. George.
Right.
And for the life of me, I do not understand why the rest of the parish has to foot the bill to fund a subset of the parish that decided on their own unilaterally that they wanted to leave
Right.
the rest of the parish.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
So my thoughts on that is I agree. And I do not know what the plan is going to be because it's not really clear, right? They say one thing, and then you look up on the news, and there's something else. I don't think they have done a good job, they meaning the city currently and the Metro Council, a good job with using what they have to begin with, right? Because St. George is there, but there has been some budget holes prior to St. George. And so I think we're in a scramble now just to figure out how we're going to fill all these voids and gaps, how we're going to maintain, retain, and keep the employees that they currently have, how we're going to keep up the infrastructure that's failing. And so it's almost like we're a little desperate right now. And I think sometimes Baton Rouge, the city proper, we are treated unfairly, right? Because you have all these outlying cities, and they have their own governments and their own mayors and their own council people, and we don't. And so who is representing us, right? And fighting for, let's make sure Baton Rouge is paid first and then these others. And so, I don't know. I just think that we have to come up with a better plan.
The new mayor, Sid Edwards, came in to this office and sat here with Councilwoman Carolyn Coleman and representatives of Councilman Cleve Dunn and others to talk about this first push that they were making to get a hold of dedicated funds. And our response, minister's response that were here, was they went and got the money through the process that you told them to go get the money.
Right.
They got dedicated dollars.
Right.
You don't get to tell them what to do with the dedicated dollars. Then they came back with you all, and correct me if I go wrong anywhere. They negotiated settlements with the library board and with others. I don't know what the settlement was with Council on Aging, but and now, as I read the paper, and that's all I have is the newspaper, they're coming up with all kinds of new taxes. This last thing I saw, an alimony tax, something I'd never heard of.
Yeah.
And again, Councilman Hudson says, well, it's not really a tax increase. Well, if you go from 2.6 in a mill to 4.0 in a mill, that's a tax increase.
Most definitely.
I do think I know how to do basic math. It's a tax increase. So all of this money, trying to get upwards of $100 million to fund St. George, and yet there are other areas within this city that need all kinds of funding, and that money should not be taken from programs that are doing such a wonderful job as the Council on Aging.
Sure. And so, let's back up a step. Now, as it relates to the millage and even the alimony tax, and even the Council on Aging's millage, twice we have been rolled back because of two assessments, right? So every 4 years, tax assessor does an assessment, and I've never seen that as long as I've been paying taxes, the taxes go down. But so tax assesses and it goes up. And what they want, they meaning the Metro Council, have been doing, they have been voting to roll your maximum levying amount back, so that you end up with around the same amount of money. So, for instance, when we initially ran our millage, we asked for 2.25 mills. So that is our maximum levying amount that we can ask for from your taxes on your property. And then from there, what they did is the first time we got rolled back was right during the pandemic. And they said it was emergency, and they needed money to help take care of the constituency. So we didn't fight that rollback. So we went from 2.25 to 2.0. At 2.25 on a $200,000 house, once you take the $75,000 tax exemption on a 125, you pay about $26, $27
Annually.
Annually.
Yes.
For the year.
Yes.
For the Council on Aging, $26, $27. So when they rolled us back to 2.13, then of course that went down from the $28 to about $25 annually. In September of last year, they rolled us back again, all of us, including fire, police, all of us. They rolled us back again from 2.13 to 2.0. At 2.0, now you're paying a little under $20, right, annually. And so the rollback was because there was an increase. When they rolled me back from 2.13 to 2.0, that's $750,000 that we could have gotten more than we normally get. They tried to keep the council on aging around $10 million to $11 million a year. So the rollback, their calculation was if we go to 2.0, we'll stay around that amount annually in our coffers. And so that's when the fight started about the millage. Now, if you recall, it was us, fire departments from all over, their millages, and then I want to say one EMS and one police millage. And the argument was, okay, so you want to roll us back, but roll everybody else forward because you feel like they're a greater benefit to the community than us. What we feel like, what we do is just as important because you can't go put out a house if nobody is in it, right? I mean, you will, but if we take care of the people that's in the house that's dealing with the fire or the crime. And so for three times there was a fight, and each time it didn't pass. This last time with this T.H.R.I.V.E, they went ahead and they rolled the fire people and all them forward and kept us at the same, because in this new package, what they're going to do is roll the alimony tax, which is a fancy word for maintenance. It's maintenance for whatever the city needs. It's a maintenance tax. But they don't want to say maintenance tax because you won't go vote for a maintenance tax, right? So they called it.
Shouldn't go vote for an alimony tax either.
Well, people assume that alimony meant something for people's spouses, but it doesn't, right?
Right.
And so what this T.H.R.I.V.E plan is doing is going to roll everybody to their maximum levy amount. So now we have been back to 2.0. They're rolling us back to 2.5.
Okay.
But we will only get the money at 2.0. The 0.25, the city will keep in their coffers.
How is that legal if it's a dedicated tax?
Here's how they say that it's legal. You have to vote for it. And so so we are all going on the ballot individually. In our proposition, it says the Council on Aging will collect 2.0 meals at about estimated around $10 to $11 million annually, and those funds will be for Meals on Wheels, transportation, senior centers, housing, etc. And then there's a B. So that's A, and then there's a B within our proposition in our language will say, and 0.25 will go to the city, parish, general funds for whatever they deem necessary.
But they won't specify that it's to give to St. George.
No, it doesn't say that in each of our proposition. Here's why we just said, we've been down there for the last 6 months fighting. And so we, meaning my board and I, we discussed, we met. We have found a way to do what we have to do at the 2.0 meals. What we don't want to do is to keep coming back every 3 to 4 years and you roll us back, because we can't sustain and budget if we don't know what the budget amount is, right? And so we said we're not getting a 0.25 anyway. It's not being collected because in all their wisdom, they rolled it back. So when you roll it back, it's not being collected. So this is a potential opportunity for them to collect an additional $1.5 million annually.
And lie and say that it's not a new tax. Because all we're doing is rolling it forward so that we can take care of that. But it's a lie. And the money which is dedicated to your group, Council on Aging, will not go to the Council on Aging.
Most of it will. The 2.0, which is the 11 million, is gonna go.
but there's a portion that will not.
That's right.
And somebody needs to say that.
And see what I think.
Hello, I'm saying it.
I think what people hadn't realized, they hadn't been paying attention to how they were rolling us back in the first place, right? And so even with the alimony tax, it was initially at 4% but because they kept cutting it back, right? Now it's at 2.6 now. And that's their own doing.
Yeah.
They could have left it where it was.
Sure.
It's been a tax for 40 years, is my understanding. But because you made a decision, and the problem, Pastor Smith, is this. If you go to them and you want to get your measure on the ballot and they don't agree, you can't win. Right? There's no way. That's what happened to the library. They wouldn't even allow them to take it to the vote of the people because they knocked it back. So you kind of you're in a corner. You either have to go through them and appease 8 of them because it's a ballot measure, so it takes 8 votes. So you have to get 8 of them to support you getting on the ballot.
You know what question I'm going to ask next?
Who the 8 are?
Who are the 8? Because it's a 7-5 Republican white conservative majority, which means that there's one of the progressive Democrat African American community that's going to vote with them. So,
well, for our measure, I can say that I had all of the black Metro Council members, because I can tell you this. They all have either a senior center in their area or seniors that depend on the Council on Aging. And what they do not want is to feel the wrath of said seniors, because
I hope not.
Right, they don't want to feel the wrath from them. So I can say that I have support from all of them. Surprisingly, Jen Rocca supported our initiative, and I want to say Rowdy, he vacillates left and right. Sometimes he's with you, most time he's not. And so the problem, I faced the same problem that the library faced. They knew that they couldn't get the eight votes, right? And so that's why they just pulled their item. And so the negotiation, honestly, I never talked to Dwight Hudson until the very end. Councilman Dunn and Coleman, Councilman Coleman sits on my board, discussed with me how we can participate without losing much. See, I can't lose what I don't have, right? And so for us, it was an easy to say, okay, you can have the other 2.5 because I don't get it anyway. Could I use it and need it? Most definitely. But we want to participate in the city too. We want to do our part. We don't want to be standing alone saying, oh no, we're gonna fight y'all all by ourselves. And so to them, it was win-win if we all go together, the library and us and Mosquito. Now, the alimony tax, they didn't have a clear understanding of what it was when they explained it to us in the first place. I don't think the administration even knew exactly what it was. I think today they know. And I think it's going to be
because Woody Jenkins and Eddie Risponi told him what it was.
Right. And I think it's going to be difficult
he
to
didn't
pass
know what
that.
it was before then.
No.
And once enough people start saying alimony tax equals maintenance tax equals $100 million for St. George, there's going to be pushback against that.
Most definitely. And I think what will happen is, because we're all going to be on this ballot individually, right? It's not one proposition with all
one
pieces.
catch-all.
It's not one. So we're individually, and what we're going to concentrate on is, the seniors need their millage. So vote yes. Vote for seniors. If you got a senior in your family, in your life, or that one that you love, then support the seniors, right? And the library is going to do the same thing. Matter of fact, we're going to say something like, seniors love books. Seniors read, whatever we need to do. But the rest of that, we're going to let them work that out themselves.
Well, hypothetically speaking, your measure goes on the ballot, November of this year?
If after May 15th, if the Metro Council puts it on, yes, all of us will go. Okay. But I'm a year early, see?
So that was my question. If it does not pass this time,
then I can go again.
You can still go again.
Yes.
A year from now.
And
you're still funded over the span of that year.
Over that year, yes. Okay. Because actually, my last collection year on this money is 2026, which means, they hold it, it's 1 year held anyway, so I'll start spending that money in 2027. Okay. So yes, no, I won't lose any money, and I'll just have to go again, me and mosquito abatement. Now, for the library, it'll be a different story. They will not, and they'll have to figure out how they get enough money to cover that gap year while they try to campaign again.
Is there any discussion between the various entities that receive dedicated taxes to come together to
Yes.
push back against what the Metro Council and the mayor's office is proposing?
No, I can say we haven't had a discussion to push back against. Because what we realize is their minds are already made up. They, meaning the council members, their minds are already made up. The library has made whatever concessions that they're going to make, and they figured out how to be okay with that. So what our discussions have been is we are two vital entities in this parish. How can we align ourselves and work together for the good of the people that we serve, right? And let whomever else, let the chips fall where they're made, as far as that alimony tax is concerned. And so what we have been talking about is just working together to make sure that our folks don't suffer. Because you understand, what we do is a vital service. I have people whose only meal of the day is from us, right? And we cannot afford to lose that, because if you think that you can spend this $10 million now, imagine these people who don't have a meal to take their medicine, or whose health care, somebody has to take care of them, right? And it always ends up being a system or a nursing home. What we do, we can service a senior pastor in all kind of ways. It will cost us about $5,000 per senior a year, and that means meals, medication management. Sometimes we pay their light bills, in-home services for about $5,000 or $6,000. It takes a nursing home $50,000 to $60,000, and so imagine the people that we spare, and we keep living independent in their homes as all of those who could be in the nursing home. So for us, it's vital that we get our millage paid.
What percentage of Council on Aging money is overhead as opposed to direct services? Could you estimate?
Because we are a direct service agency, so that means any service that we provide, somebody has to do it. If you get a meal, somebody has to cook it, deliver it, put it up in your house, right? And so because we're a direct service agency, our breakdown is different. So our administrative overhead might be about 15 to 20%. And the rest of it is programmatic service salaries, right? So somebody that's working in a program to provide the service.
I said to somebody who was a guest here, I have the luxury of being able to look at things in this community primarily from a racial perspective. You don't necessarily have that luxury. So exercising my luxury, I see this attack on Breck and Corey Wilson, this attack on Council on Aging as not just economics. I see it as racial. If I'm wrong, please help me to understand where I'm wrong. But I see what they did to Corey Wilson to get him to finally say, forget it, I'm out of here. Right. And I think a lot of that is racially motivated.
I think so. Well, and if you think about it, four of the largest organizations that get dedicated tax are run and manned by African American or Black folk. And so you got Corey and me and Theo at Cats and Diana Payton at the YWCA. And it's ironic, they don't really want the programs or the agencies until we fix them. You know, and I mentioned earlier that we started in a deficit, but now, you know, we have clean audits. They're on time. We're good stewards of the funds. Everything that we have done, acquired, or built, we own. We are a debt-free agency, right? And we are serving more people than this agency has ever served in its total existence. We went from about 225,000 meals a year to 1.4 million meals in the homes or in the senior centers annually. And so now that we have become nationally recognized, we have housing stock. We just won 2 federal HUD projects, the only 2 in this state from HUD, to build some more senior housing and some intergenerational housing. And now that we're up, of course they want it now. But it took a lot of work, blood, sweat, and tears. And, and Corey's my counterpart, and I appreciate him, but we different. 'Cause I'm going to fight to the death. You're going to have to pick me up and remove me. The only people who really can move me is the seniors of this parish. And if they say they're not happy and they come together, and because we're a voting body, right? We're different than BREC. You don't get to appoint. We only have one appointee on our board, and that's a Metro Council member. But other than that, it's the seniors. We work at the pleasure of the seniors of this parish. If they decide that they're not happy, then that's different. But as far as we're concerned, we're going to continue to fight for the agency that we have built up. We're going to continue to fight for the assets that these seniors currently have, and for them being able to have this program. And so they can pick whatever color they like, right? But it's not gonna move us. It's not gonna. It's so many things, Pastor, that they've tried to do to us, But we blooded but not unbound. We don't get weary in well doing.
And people should know that with all of this hoopla around St. George, the East Baton Rouge Parish Council on Aging also serves people who live within St. George.
That's right.
It's not just Baton Rouge proper.
No.
But it's Baker and Zachary and Central and St. George.
St. George. We have 2 centers in St. George. We have a brand new center and at our Antioch facility. It's one of the largest ones that we have. We also have a center in Perkins Road. And we're not opposed to doing another one once the millage gets renewed. But we also serve quite a few people in the homes in St. George. And so, my mama told me it's not wise to cut off your nose to spite your face.
Sure,
right?
sure.
So you'll be doing some detriment to your constituency. But we're in every city within this parish, all the way up to the parish line, Pride Port Hudson, way down O'Neill, right before we start running into Denham Springs. So I suggest that they look again and look somewhere else, right? Not at the Council on Aging. We have made sure that we do everything that we're supposed to do, and we do it at a level of excellence. After being investigated 8 times, everything from the Inspector General to the Attorney General to Hilla Moore's office, to the ethics board, we have learned some valuable lessons, right? And at the same time, they didn't find anything that we did wrong. And so I'm glad to say that the work that we do, it speaks for itself.
It's also unfair, speaking for you now.
Thank you.
It's also unfair to roll these millages back to keep you at the same amount of dollars when over the span of time, everything costs more.
Everything costs
And so they expect you to be able to continue services, expand services with the same finite amount of dollars.
They expect us to do more with less. But after a while, that runs out. And what they'll do is leave us at a point where we have to choose. Well, we can't put any more seniors on Meals on Wheels, or we can't put any more seniors. I am at capacity at all my senior centers. Eventually, I'm either have to get some more centers or roll some people back. And that's going to have, their constituency upset. And you're right, inflation, everybody has to deal with inflation. And we should be able to get increases in our coffers. But at the same time, they have a problem that they can't figure out, right? And that's St. George and how we pay for it, which becomes a problem for all of us. And so I don't know if this plan is going to work, and if the people will approve it.
Are there any private companion services that exist or operate within East Baton Rouge Parish that the Council on Aging can rely upon or partner with? Or are you guys essentially a standalone service provider?
Well, there are some, like Our Lady of the Lake has a program called Senior Companion, and they pay seniors to go sit with other seniors. But they only have a finite budget, and after a certain amount of people, then there's a waiting list. There are some folks, we have what's called an aging network, and then we kind of network and help one another. There's some agencies, but none of them have the kind of budget that we have. For instance, we oftentimes find ourselves in a grant giving position. We just gave $75,000 to Alzheimer's services to help seniors be able to have day services, seniors with Alzheimer's. We give money to grandparents raising grandchildren every year to do some of their programming. So I can say that we are the largest aging entity in the parish, and we probably do the most.
About a year ago, well, not quite a year ago, when the mayoral election turned out the way that it did, there started to be whispers that I heard, and it may have been going on before then, but I started to hear whispers about deconsolidation of East Baton Rouge Parish. That consolidated government is not really beneficial for the Baton Rouge resident.
Right. I've heard those too.
Over the past several months, it's gone from being whispers to being
plans.
Yes.
Yes.
and people are starting to be quite vocal about that. I'm not trying to get you in trouble, but I just wanted to. What are your thoughts about that, and how would that affect the Council on Aging?
So my thoughts about that is, I see there's some validity there to the issue, and I understand the point. I think for us, either way, we will still. So we are a nonprofit, but we also are a quasi-governmental entity. We're statutorily created by the state, right, and the federal government through the Older American Act. And so no matter if it's all consolidated or unconsolidated, we still are required to serve all of the parish, right? Okay. And so I think for us, it should not affect us much differently than what they're doing now. And I think that we'll still be able to continue to operate. Because what people don't know is we are the federally designated area agency on aging for this parish, designated by the federal government. So it gives us a different level, a different designation, and our federal money still will have to meet the scope of the entire parish, be it consolidated or not. Now, me personally, if you were to ask Tasha, and not this Council on Aging CEO, I think it's beyond time that we become unconsolidated, because we don't have fair representation when you go to the Metro Council, right? And I think that it is the way that the votes go down often is unfair.
You have a rich history, family history here in East Baton Rouge Parish. Your mother was one of the first black, if not the first black judge in this area. You decided to plant your flag in Baton Rouge and East Baton Rouge Parish. Right. Do you regret that decision, or are you happy about that decision? Usually I ask people, do you want your children to live here? And you'd be surprised at the number of people who say, not really. Right. So I'm just curious, how do you feel about making the decision to stay in East Baton Rouge Parish?
You know, I think I'm happy with it. I love East Baton Rouge Parish. I love Baton Rouge. And the fact that my parents are here keeps me here, right? Because we grew up, my father is from Florida, and all his family is there. My mother is from New Jersey. Now, people think she's from here and went to Capitol. She did not. She is from outside of Newark and Plainfield, New Jersey. So we never had family around us. And so the friends and the people that she went to law school with and the folks that she fought with to get black judges became our family. So I feel like all my family is here. They're just not my blood family, right? And so I have a love for Baton Rouge because that's all I know. And my mother's job from day one to her was to make Baton Rouge better. She fought for equity and civil rights and to make Baton Rouge better. And she trained me up the same way. Yeah, raised up in this church, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And of course, She has her pew, the first one on the third on the left, with her name on it, right?
Yes.
And
that's
so,
right.
you know, this is us. Baton Rouge is a part of me, and I'm a part of Baton Rouge, even though I'm a Florida girl.
I understand. What are your thoughts with regard to efforts that are being made from the federal government that are trickling down into state and local government to deny people needed dollars for the improvements? I just read this morning's paper where $53 million that was supposed to go to East Baton Rouge Parish from FEMA have been cut. Read earlier this week that $721 million that was supposed to come from FEMA to the state have been cut. And this is an overwhelmingly conservative Republican state.
Right.
And to see these kinds of cuts from the federal government has to be for me, it's not terribly surprising.
Yeah.
But for those who voted for this president and for this governor, I would imagine that even if they wouldn't admit it, there's a certain degree of frustration and disappointment in what's going on. I
think what's happening is we're about to learn a valuable lesson. And two things is, one, if you don't go vote, this is what you get. And then you don't have a voice to change that. And that's some of us, folks that look like us, voter apathy and all these excuses and reasons that we make for not voting and not participating in the process. Then you get what you get, right? But then some of them too, because look, you voted against your own best interest, right? You voted against things that will help you in your life, and under the auspices of they're gonna take care of me. Well, now you're learning the hard way. You're learning a hard lesson. You know, a hard head makes a soft behind.
Yeah.
So you're learning a lesson, and I think what's going to happen in these 4 years, we're going to learn that this is not what we want, and I guarantee you, come midterm elections, and then the re-elections or the election for president, we're gonna make some changes, right?
I hope so.
I do. I think that everybody is going to be uncomfortable, even those that have and those that do not. Everybody is going to be uncomfortable, and to the point where we're going to have to get up and fight for ourselves, right? I think we've lost the will to fight, and it takes a lot to get up and fight every day.
Sure.
I can tell you experientially, it takes a lot to fight and press every day. But what is the alternative, right? And the alternative is long suffering. And I don't think that that's wise for us. Our community cannot afford the steps backwards.
Right.
We really can't.
Right.
And so it's my hope that we learn from this lesson.
As we're recording this, and by the time this airs, it will have started. We're about to go into a new legislative session.
Right.
Does the Council on Aging have an agenda that they want to put before the state legislature about things that are about to happen over the next several weeks and months?
We don't individually, but the statewide Council on Aging group, we do. We're asking for a change and an increase in our formula. So just like schools have the MFP formula, the senior centers or Council on Aging, there's a formula where the money that comes in from the feds that's matched with state dollars are split. And mostly, if you're a rural parish, you get about $100,000 a year, and then the formula goes according to how many people in your parish. For East Baton Rouge Parish, we start at $100,000 a year, and it's $4.08 per person in the parish. That's how we split the money. Currently, it's like $2 something. So we're asking for an increase in the formula per person for each parish. That's that. And then what we're doing as an individual agency is just watching the legislation. Because as you know, there's legislation that will change the makeup of BREC and change the makeup of their board and put them under the city. There's legislation there for cats that will do the same thing. And we just want to make sure that there's none becomes there for us.
For Council on Aging,
for the council, for East Baton Rouge Parish Council.
By the way, they lied. This whole thing that they're doing with BREC, they lied. They made certain assurances that if the superintendent were to step out, then these proposals would be pulled.
But they have not.
But they have not been pulled, and the superintendent did step out. So you lied.
You lied.
And I just want you to know that you lied, and I know that you lied, and we're going to fight that as well.
That's right.
And I would just hope that they would not be lying about the Council on Aging.
Well, and they haven't made any concessions or commitments to us, and it's my understanding that the same legislator that put the other bills up has one left, right? So you can pre-file 5 bills. He's only done 4. So it's been said to me, in whispers that the 5th may be for us, but we're paying attention to see, and we are we're ready to fight, right? And so we're gonna have droves of folks going to fight us because it doesn't make good sense, right, to divide everybody and put them under a city that can't manage what they have currently, right? They don't have a great grasp on managing everything that they have now. How in the world will they manage Brett, Katz, and the Council on Aging? Yes. Right? Because if they wanted the Council on Aging, we could have stayed in there. Initially, Councils on Agents and the library were in the city's programs, right? And they pushed us out and told us to go find our own money. Right. Right. And you went and found your own money. And we went and found it. And succeeded. And now they want it. And like they do with Manifest Destiny, once it succeeds, well, we want that back. We want that back. Yes. It's no way to be able to manage all of that. I just don't see it. Before Mayor Broom was defeated, they were talking about doing things to make the Civic Center downtown more attractive to a wider array of people. Talked about putting a hotel down there, and it seems that since her defeat, there's been a hush about any of that. And as you said, seniors vote, and they vote regularly. Is there any talk among seniors about the improvements that were promised under the previous administration but seem to have gone silent under the new administration? I think here lately the seniors are solely focused on what they're doing to the Council on Aging, particularly the ones that are invested in and participate in our programs. Now, I don't know about my daily seniors, but my senior mother that I talk to regularly, yes, she has a problem with it, right? And she didn't like it in the first place because they were going to do the improvements there if you give a commitment to this entity or a 30-year commitment. A 30-year commitment. Yeah. So it's the one thing that the mayor agreed to that I had a problem with, and I said it more than once. Yeah. I don't know why LSU needs a 30-year commitment in order to build an arena that only nets 2,600 more seats than the arena that you have now. Yeah. And there seemed to have been a concession that was made for all of that to happen, and now the concession has gone away. I think they're going to end up scrapping all of that. I don't think in this climate, right, and with the way that federal funds are fluctuating, the way that state dollars are fluctuating, we got a $200 million budget hole in the state. I can't see them doing that because where's the money going to come from, right? And I think that's the problem. And as long as we're in an up and down cycle, I can't foresee them doing that. Yeah. Well, closing. What thoughts would you like to share with the community about the Council on Aging and the work that you're doing and what you all are facing going forward? I think what we do is vital. What we do is important. What we do is life-changing and life-altering. And I think folks need to do that. If we're helping a senior and your family, we're also helping you, right? We help you have to do less. We help caregivers. But I think in order for entities like us to sustain and be around, we have to have community support, not just people that receive services. I mean, our community needs to come out and support the Council on Aging because that's a meal in somebody's mouth. That's some help in somebody's house. And so it's vitally important that programs like the Council on Aging maintain and are around. That's why we're 50 years old, 50 plus years old, because we were created during a time where they recognized that seniors needed assistance, and that hasn't changed, right? And so I think it's critical that we stay informed and have our voices be heard. We all have to go to the Metro Council meeting on May 14th. It's the day where they're going to have the public hearing. And so it's important that not just me and my crew and the seniors, that other folks come and say, we don't want our Council on Aging money messed with, basically, and our library money messed with. We're not in agreement, or we are in agreement, right? And so, and then from there, we'll know what needs to happen. Because I'm not really looking to go do our campaign right now. I mean, if we have to, we're going to go do what we have to do. But sometimes, it's good to hear from folks. I think it's important.
Tasha Clark Amar, thank you for taking the time to come and share with us today. Hope you'll come back again.
I will. This has been fun.
Well, good.
Thank you.
Thank you for viewing. Thank you for listening. We'll be back again next time.